Hey, everybody. It's Joe Hoskins. I'm one of the researchers on the Solomon Islands Giants team, and today I'm talking with my buddy Ethan Oates. We're going to talk about giants on the old show, if you can imagine that, kids. And also, we're going to talk about hairy giants, and we're going to talk about the variety of giants that Ethan saw when he had his sighting. And I thought it was really interesting that it just wasn't one kind. So I thought we'd kind of talk about a little bit of that today. How's it going, buddy?
Pretty good, Joe. How are you?
I'm doing good, man.
You
I'm
can hear
doing
me?
good. Yes, sir. I've got you, I
Okay,
believe.
awesome.
Let's
Yeah,
see.
pretty doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing good, man. I wanted to talk about just how I thought it's wild, man, that we ran into all these different kinds of giants. People get an idea like, oh, well, it's a person, and they're 10 feet tall or 8 feet tall. And I think what's most striking about your account is just the variety of different beings. And there were giant people that looked like people with clothes. There were giant hairy giants. That was a very interesting thing that I thought could be a correlation with a larger Bigfoot. Then you said there were giant creatures, giant things that were not a humanoid, but they were a beast of any kind. They were giant beast-like creatures, and so I think the variety there was really kind of stunning. Kind of something maybe folks weren't ready for. I'm sure you weren't when you saw it.
No, not at all. No,
I can imagine that must have been incredible. I mean,
yeah,
to see that.
it, 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 it the tribal people the chief when I got there, and then the tribal people also, I talked to the chief so much, and then I talked to one of the tribal guys a lot that he told me a lot of stuff. And that was the one that took me to see the Giants. So I don't think he was, telling me any. I believe he was telling me the truth on everything that he told me, and I believe the chief was telling the truth. These people don't. When they tell you something, they don't. It's it's like nothing.
Yeah,
It's like everyday life to where they'll tell you something and then you'll get when he told us stuff, we got shocked, and I made a couple expressions in the face like,
yeah,
look at my friend like, what the fuck, and he would just look at me like he didn't like that, like he'd give me that look like he just
yeah.
didn't understand why I was.
Why would you be shocked about
Yeah,
this? Yeah.
and
How come you don't know this? Yeah.
yes, and to him it was a normal everyday occurrence, to where us I'm like, we don't have giants where we come from.
Yeah, we don't see those every day normally,
And not that I know of, and at that
Right?
point I'm like, not that, I just we don't. And he now I'm like, not that I know, but when I was talking to him, I'm like, we don't know, we don't have that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and that we know of. And the chief was kind of shocked over that. That's when I
Yeah.
got the shocked expression from him,
Right.
thinking, "What?"
He couldn't
you
believe that
know,
you didn't know you didn't have giants where you're from. That's not a common thing, and to him, I guess it's a very common thing to him.
these
It like,
people, I believe, since I visited there, and uh, with my research coming home and doing research afterward about my journey, and researching online, and putting my head together thinking about the things that the tribal people talked about, and you know stuff like that.
trying to put the puzzle together.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
trying to put the
I can
puzzle
imagine.
together.
Yeah.
It seems to me that these people are in fear for their life every day, but to them it's normal, and they have ways to watch out for these giants.
Yeah.
While we were there, we had several tribal people. One that had a shotgun, and it was an old looking shotgun, beat up, and he stayed probably about 100 feet from us on the
Yeah.
outskirts of the little village. And I would see him over, in areas, and then I'd see him over there, and I'd be like, okay, so I believe he was lookout, and then with
He
the
was
chief,
obviously like a security
yeah,
detail
and then
guy. That was his
with
duty.
the chief talking about his warriors, um, having the warriors go out in the jungle before us when he took me and my friends to see the skulls.
Yeah.
He has warriors, so some of those tribe members are considered warriors, and those warriors will fight and
That's
try
their
to
job.
protect the others to get away, or I imagine they probably fleed their village when the giants do come in. Maybe they fight back, but I'm sure they fleed because
Yeah.
hey, how can you stop a giant,
Yeah.
that's coming in stomping houses? And
Indeed. Yeah. Well, and
yes,
then they have it's a thing many people don't know about. They're not easily killed. You can't just stab a giant and he'll just fall over. They have a supernatural regenerative power, and if you kind of want to think about it, if you can think about if you've ever seen Wolverine in those movies, how he can just heal pretty quick. They have this ability, and that's why always you really can't get away from this when you're dealing with giants. You generally can't kill them until you behead them, and that's why you see heads everywhere, which is a very interesting thing that Ethan saw when he went on his trip. He would see giant heads, and you go, well, why would you see giant heads and not the body? Why
and
would that be? And
and
that's a
and
valid question, man. It's a
and
valid question.
as you're saying
But
too, Joe, the chief did say that some of these giants grow their limbs back.
yeah,
So, like a lizard,
yeah,
how a tail would come
yeah,
off,
that's hard to believe. It's like
and like you
what
grab a lizard and the
because
tail comes off. I guess so if
yeah,
they
yeah,
get their leg off, it grows back. I mean, that's
right.
that's pretty wild, man.
Well, it speaks to these are supernatural creatures and they have an ability like you really can't understand. And that's why you just can't walk up and shoot it with some lead bullets a couple of times and it falls over dead. You do that and you made a mistake. You don't want to go with lead bullets to the giant fight, but we're not going to fight no giants, but we know about that and we're not there for that. We're going to just get some pictures, but I think it's going to be an amazing thing,
And
dude.
the chief talks of the different giants. Well, the tribal guy, now he's told me several things. He told me that there is a tribe that are 24 footers,
Yeah,
which the chief talked about the 24 footers during our conversation. Well, this tribal man talked about the 24 footers building ancient walls to keep
yeah,
the bigger giants out. And at these walls, which they build, these giants, of course, could come in and just smash them,
yeah,
and crash it like nothing. Well, I guess on the outsides of these walls, the tribal man said that there's ancient skulls that are all placed outside that wall,
yeah,
facing away from the wall. And for some reason, when the giant comes, they'll offer up one of their people. And I don't know if it's one of their sickly people. I don't know if it's a female. I don't know if it's a male. It almost seems similar to the movie what is it?
King Kong.
King Kong. It almost seemed like that. An ancient wall, and
Yeah,
when that giant
exactly what they had.
comes, when the giant comes, they and these are giants that are bigger. I mean, like 50 feet, believe it or not,
Yeah,
60 feet. This is what the tribal man told me.
yeah,
And when he comes, these 24 footers will offer somebody out the gate to him, I guess, sacrifice somebody, whatever. They don't, He didn't tell me they killed them. He just said they offer someone to them. They give them
Yeah.
somebody out of their tribe because they're all considered tribes. Everybody has tribes out there, these
Yeah.
certain ones supposedly. And they offer someone up, and that giant will come up to the wall and take that person and walk off with that person or eat the person. I didn't ask that question.
Clearly an
And I
offering.
wish I would
Yeah.
have asked that question. Does he eat them?
Yeah.
Does he? But he told me when that giant comes up and they give him somebody, they will hold up a skull at, aimed up, and they'll put their head down like this and
Yeah.
hold the skull up. I don't know if you can see me, Joe. Like hold the
Yeah. Yeah.
skull up and hold their head down, and they'll hold that skull up with their arms stretched out like that up to the giant.
That's crazy, man.
So
This is
I
like
don't
a,
know if that's like a god to them. I don't know.
yeah.
Almost like maybe the movie King Kong. That was similar
Oh,
to a
yeah.
god to those people.
Isn't it amazing how many movies really end up telling a story that kind of ends up being real, and we see that over and over.
It's so close to that.
Yeah.
And on top of it, then you got, for instance, King Kong makes the movie Skull Island.
Yeah.
That's let's be for real now. Salem's Island is Skull Island.
Boy, howdy, I sure find some
That
big ones
is
there.
that's
Yeah.
Skull Island, and they're representing that
Mm-hmm.
skull, holding it
Yeah.
up to the giants. And
Yep.
not only that, the village people and the chief told me,
Yep.
the chief of the village told me that they put those skulls on the outskirts of their village, aimed away from their village, to keep the giants away.
Well, so it's a thing they do, and it's man, that's almost like a
And
ritualistic thing, you
and
know?
as an offering.
Yeah.
So hoping the giant, and I assume it's a hairy one because the chief says the hairy ones attack all the time
Yeah.
the village. So I assume it's the hairy mean one. And they also hoping that maybe he'll take that skull and leave with it.
Yeah.
Almost like they're skull collectors.
Yeah.
Like they collect the skulls and take them back
It's
somewhere and pile them around.
Oh, I
Okay.
sure have found that a
And you
few
found
times,
that, and
like
I
piled
found
up
that on Google
giant
Earth.
skulls, and
Yes.
not I mean big skulls.
Yes.
I'm talking
Yes.
20 feet
20 feet
around.
skulls. Yep.
ten
Piled.
foot
All,
skull
yep.
sitting on a 20 foot
Mhm.
skull. I would see that, and it's like,
Sticks with skulls on them.
yeah, yeah,
So, and then this is what gets me. In some of the pictures my friend took, there is in the you're looking at the what's going on in the picture, and
yeah.
there's a big giant skull, and there's giant looking Bigfoot looking, they look like Bigfoot. Some
Hairy
of them
giant,
have
yeah,
normal faces, and
right,
some of them don't. Some of them hairy.
yeah.
Some of them have normal feet and hands. Some of them don't. Some of them have a human foot and a claw for a hand. Some of them have a human
Interesting,
hand and a claw for a foot. Almost like they're
interesting, very
intermixed.
interesting.
Almost like they're intermixed. Maybe they're breeding
Yeah.
with the giants. And that's what's creating
Well, it
that.
could come out either way. Maybe like brothers, one might have a claw hand, the other might have a claw foot, the other one. This is a mixing of the genome.
Skulls. Skulls. Big giant skulls in these pictures.
Yeah.
And you can see the giants and you can see smaller tribal people, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
running, doing whatever. It's just like chaos going on. And you can also see sticks in the ground with looking like normal human skulls.
Yeah.
And then, now that I think about it, and then I'm home and I've done some research,
Yeah.
some of the witch doctors do that freaky stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
some of the voodoo we've seen movies kind of
Skull, very
have like a
much,
skull
very
on a
much.
stick. What does that
Well, then
mean?
there's all that deal about the crystal skulls.
So now I
Uh,
want to know, what does that skull
uh,
mean being on a stick? Does that mean it's a
yeah.
ritual going on? Does that mean stay the fuck out, don't come in here? Does that mean, what does that mean? Because
It
there's
has
a
a
lot of
universal
that.
meaning to them, obviously, doesn't it? I mean,
There's a lot of
there's
it.
something to it. It's not, it's, there's something to it, you know. What is the question? Here's the word, you know.
There's a lot of that. So is that
Yeah,
witch doctoring going on up there, or is that
yeah,
maybe a headhunter killer tribal that's just does that all over? But
yeah.
I'm finding it with this is the really crazy shit. One of the pictures has a couple Bigfoot in it,
Yeah,
and it's similar to what people show. It's not costumes. It's
yeah,
hairy Bigfoot with the face. Some of them have human looking faces, like I was
yeah.
saying. And and then you'll see those sticks in the ground with skulls, and you'll
Uh-huh.
see skulls all around them.
Yeah,
So, and then you put two and two together, and the chief talks of putting skulls around the village for the giants to come when they come in. It's the hairy giants.
yeah.
They're the skull collectors
It's kind of a thing that
on
a
that island.
boundary or some kind of a maybe they think they believe there's a magic behind the skull that where they put that they can't cross the boundary. It's what it sounds like to me. And you go, well, that's crazy. You don't know what voodoo people believe on an island and what works for them. It might be the thing that works for
There's a
them.
lot of
We
that
don't know how that works.
on a lot
We
of
don't know.
islands. There's a
You
lot of
know.
that.
I think it's very interesting, though. We can learn from it, and we're going to be paying attention to what they consider to be an important,
And and
rule to follow.
and so they do an offering, and they're giving someone to that giant,
Yeah.
obviously, maybe, which I didn't ask and I wish I did. And so now I have to think to myself, what was the offering for? Not to kill us, or is it
Yeah.
to, or is it because you are a god? You're bigger than us. You can
Yeah.
do things better than us. You can move things. You can this. Please don't do nothing to us. Hold the skull up to our God. We praise to you. I mean, this shit
What
goes
is
through
it?
my
Yeah,
head,
there's
and
something behind it. Yeah,
it's
there's a
like, what's going on?
there's a meaning behind it for sure because you see it repeated over and over, and you see the skull theme repeated
Yes,
over and over. So there are things you ran into these common themes. You and I
yes.
were talking about this. We're since we started looking at the Solomon Islands, some of the things that we do is look at the different kinds of architecture. I've spent a little time with architecture and looking into that kind of thing, and I found some really cool stuff. And so I've gotten to where I can recognize some things. And one of the things that I realized is I started recognizing some common forms of statuary that are indicative to certain cultures. And what I mean is, like, I found this giant statue there on the edge of the island that looks very much like an Olmec head.
There's a
And
statue, Joe, that
yeah,
the tribal people talk about, and it's a statue from when Japan came into that island,
uh
and
huh,
they left a statue of a person or whatever, and it's kind of like a green statue, and it's like a memorial or some shit.
right, I understand.
Well, the tribal people, this statue is metal. It's made
Yeah,
of a metal, and it's bolted into the cement,
yeah,
and it keeps getting ripped out all the time. And the tribal people say that the giants don't want it there. That's why they're
yeah.
ripping it out constantly. They want it
I'd
out of
say that could be that could be something behind that. That's very interesting that they have something there. And the thing is, man, when I look at this island,
there.
it
And
is
they call
full.
it a reptilian statue. But when you look at the statue, it really kind of, I don't really see a reptilian in it, unless maybe the reptilian's coming around the back, because it is something looking funny around the back coming to the head right here.
Yeah.
And it's, if you look it up on the internet, they call it the
Yeah.
reptilian statue. So I have no idea.
Interesting.
I when you look at the plaque, it doesn't
Yeah.
say reptilian. It's a memorial for the Japan.
Again, the reptilians are a thing that are. This is a kind of a humanoid that can be giant, and I've ran into this before at another site I was looking at, which was a very early site. All these sites are very early. When I say early, I'm talking about they're what we call antediluvian, which simply means they're sites that existed before the flood. The Great Flood, of course, wiped out a great deal of everything. And the reason for the Great Flood, of course, was to kill the giants. And many people don't know that. But the point is, there's architecture that predates the flood, and it's very advanced. And that's the thing. It's not the kind of, this isn't caveman stuff. And that's the whole problem with this whole paradigm of history is they tell you man started out like a caveman, and this is a lie. Lie, 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 lie. Man was super intelligent way back. Earlier man, more intelligent.
These
Go
tribal
go look at the
people,
pyramids if you don't believe me. You
these
know, go
these
go go see why we don't build those today. There's a reason. You know,
these
there's a
tribal people
reason.
speak that the chief
Yeah.
says that his his grandfather, his dad,
Uh huh.
so it's his father's father is who he was
Right.
speaking about. And he said that his father used to be chief of the village, and his father used to be chief of the village. So this chief of the village is kind of going down the
The
family.
generational thing. Yeah.
Well, he says that his father's father, that those tribal people used to have to go to the giants for them to take them to the king of the island for them to get granted on doing something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? To get permission for certain
So
things
they would approach these 24-foot giants or whatever, and they would take whatever their
to the
request
king.
was to the giant
Yep.
king, who was probably an even bigger
I
giant. Would
said,
would
"What
probably say
is the
best.
giant a king?" And he said, "Yes."
Yes.
And at
Yeah.
this point, he's telling me that stuff. I didn't see the giants yet. So I'm
Yeah.
just thinking, okay, now
He's
that I'm
just a
home,
matter of factly the history. Yeah, he's a giant killer.
there's so many questions I wish I would have asked Joe.
Oh gosh, I'm
So
sure.
many questions.
And I've seen that interview
And
with
now,
that chief.
yeah, and
He's
now
a
that I've
very
seen it,
intelligent guy.
and after I've seen the Giants, that next morning we were getting picked up. And it was just, I was so lack of sleep that I wish I would have started trying to ask more questions before I left, but there
Right.
were so many millions of questions. But I was in shock. I wasn't
Yeah.
question thinking. I wasn't
It's
thinking
hard to
of asking
understand. When something like
questions.
that happens, you're kind of in autopilot.
I
You're kind of
was like
doing stuff, but it's like
shocked.
your mind is shut off because you're trying to process something that is not normal. It's supernatural. You saw a supernatural thing, and that's a hard thing to get.
I couldn't understand it. I just,
Yeah.
I still to this day, I look at the pictures and I've showed you, Joe, some pictures. Joe's seen a couple pictures.
Yep.
It just,
Very compelling.
it blows my mind. It freaks me out. It shocks
Yeah.
me.
Mm.
I don't know. I mean, from myself, I'm a spiritual person, and these people, these islands, are spiritual people.
Yeah.
And the chief told me, I asked him, what's your religion? And because I was interested in the tribe, I was interested in the
Right.
culture,
Right. Hmm.
uh, different cultures, interest me, amaze me, so I asked him, and he said that they're spiritual people there. And
Yeah.
he said that's why they don't care so much about the light that goes to the mountain every night.
Yeah.
Because they don't know. They don't know if that's God. They don't know. They're spiritual. They're at
Yeah.
peace. They're at peace with everything. It's
Yeah.
fucking crazy. They're not like
But
us,
they
man.
acknowledge this lot going to the mountain every third night or whatever
Yes,
on a regular
yes,
schedule too. By the way, as I remember the
yes.
story.
So the chief says there's a light that comes from a certain direction, out in the ocean, in the air. You know, they don't see it coming out of the ocean, but he sees it coming from a distance, and it comes over and it lands on the highest peak mountain there. And that highest peak mountain is known for giants there. That's where the
Yeah,
chief told me that they have a village down in that, they have a city down in that mountain, bigger than the
yeah,
city of Salem's Island City. I'm
yeah.
like, whoa.
I
And
would believe that.
yeah, and when he was telling me that stuff, this shit's just going in and out, man. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
know
but
what
see,
he's
at this
saying.
time you hadn't had the
I
experience
didn't,
yet, and
yeah,
you
I
were just
didn't,
you're
yeah.
like,
So I'm
oh,
thinking,
tell me all this
where's the joke?
giant
When's
stuff.
the joke coming?
Yeah,
When are you gonna laugh at me? You're trying to scare me,
right,
or
right.
is this something you do to people that tourists that
Yeah,
come
I'm the
here?
tourist, and here's the
Yeah,
game they
I'm,
run. Yeah,
and now that I've seen what I've seen, and I started researching different cultures and stuff, I'm seeing there's a lot of Hindu people that
yep,
talk about the giants,
yep,
and that they do like ceremony dress up things over the giants.
yep.
That blew my mind because it was like they knew. And when I've seen videos of this festival, there was giants and there was people walking around with skulls,
Yeah.
you know, to keep the giants back from them.
Boy, there's something
And
going
then
on
there
right
was people
there.
dressed up as Bigfoot.
Interesting. The hairy
So,
giant represent.
yes. So I'm
Yeah.
like, they're representing what
Yep.
is really going on, man. And
Well, again,
a lot of
and
people, we want to believe in a culture, we want to
sure.
believe in a God, we want to believe in something, and I've researched that when I was younger and had a hard
Yeah.
time. I came from a Catholic
Well, it's,
family, and I seen too many different kind of people believing in too many different gods, and so I tried researching, and then I met a native man, and he showed me a lot of things, and then I became spiritual.
yeah.
And at that point, I believe in animals have their own souls. They have their own spirits,
Yeah.
and I don't hunt unless I have to hunt to survive. Then I'll
Well,
do
you
it.
stop and think
But
about.
I don't hunt. I don't fish. I don't hurt another animal, man. I just don't.
I'm not. I
I
don't
feed the
either. I don't care
birds. I
for
feed the
that, man. I
squirrels.
really don't.
I'm
And
at
you know,
peace.
I mean, if you want to hunt deer and eat deer, and I have eat deer, it's delicious. I've had venison chili and all that, and I think that's cool. But
Mhm.
I don't personally enjoy taking something's life. That's just me. But
I
there are
mean,
people that
we
just
do pay
love
for it
that.
at the
I don't.
grocery store, hamburger,
Yeah,
whatever. We pay for it, so we pay for someone else to do the
yeah,
butchering, sacrificing, and which sucks. But I won't do it myself, not unless I had to survive. I know I could do it then, but I won't.
yeah.
I'm at peace with the world. I believe in everything has a spirit,
Well, you think about when
and
you start
and
to think
and
about those cultures, and when you think about like them dressing up like Bigfoot and them dressing up like that, and people go, well, that doesn't mean it's real. They're just showing something. Well, let's stop and just think
why
about.
would they do that? We have festivals. Okay, we have an
Well, let's
art
stop and
festival.
think about this.
So
Think
we do
about the
art. We have an
Chinese
art
people.
festival.
You go to a Chinese festival, and what do you see in the street? A giant dragon, and they'll have an elaborate float, and it'll be a giant dragon. Man, it'll be amazing, and it'll be so big
I
all through the
believe
city.
I believe
Why
that
is that?
from research of coming home, and I made a separate Facebook account for this, and
Uh,
the research that I've done and the people that's followed me and the people that have talked to me, messaged me and talked to me and told me there's giants living where they live in Kenya and in other places they talk, and
yeah, we should tell people it's
I have
interesting
a
that this
lot
is resonating in these
I have a lot of
Kenya.
Hindu people that will send me prayers
Yeah,
and tell me thank you for talking about the giants.
We're
and
so
which kind of
thankful to
weirds
hear
me out a
that.
little bit because I'm like, okay, so I'm starting to think to myself, Joe, that
Hmm.
the Hindu people that have, you know, that are representing that, are closer to what's reality and what's really going on,
Well, there,
and they know something, and they don't. It's only like a group
as I remember,
kind of thing. You know what I
their
mean? Kind of
pantheon
thing.
of gods
It's like
are giant
where I feel
gods.
like
As I
I feel
remember.
like I'm left out. But now that all these certain people has followed my Facebook
Yeah,
and they're saying stuff, and a lot of them are the Hindus that do that with the giant thing I told you.
yeah.
A lot of them are, and they're saying prayers for me, and they're saying I'm a hero for talking about it. But in reality, I'm starting to think, okay, these people might be closer to God than anybody even knows, man,
Yeah.
because they know something that we just don't talk about and that we act like it's not there. We act like the
Well,
giant's not there, giant's not living. No, 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 man. There's
yeah.
giants living on that island. I've seen with my
Uh,
own eyes, a friend seen. She has pictures that I
it's a
have.
very hard thing for people to
And
get over that hurdle,
yeah,
man. That live giants. We're
and
talking about
I
live ones
know there's other
today.
people that know because these tribal people all know,
Yeah.
and it's where am I getting with this? It's it's what amazes me is these people that are messaging me and these island people in
Yeah.
Kenya and stuff. They're religious people. They are religious people. They are. When they talk to me, they will say, bless your heart. They will say, they are really like peaceful, religious.
But they're believing in the giant thing.
Yes,
They're in,
I've even had a preacher from Kenya message me and I asked him, do you have giants living there? And I felt like an idiot to ask that to a preacher, man. You know what I mean? I don't
Right?
know what he knows. He's a preacher. He studies, you know what I mean? I know what
Yeah.
I know. But I felt funny to ask him that, and he messaged me back and told me yes, that he sees them on a daily basis.
See, there are people
And
I
he
believe
then
that
he
have
messaged
already,
me,
like us, they can see them, but they
then he
just have never had
messaged me
anybody to talk to
and
about
said
it.
that's why a lot of people come here, tourists come here
Yeah.
because of that. And I showed
Wow.
you, Joe. I showed you that message,
Yeah.
and I was just it's shocking
I
me.
did.
And he is actually a Christian preacher,
That's awesome.
and he
And nothing
knows
wrong
there's
with that, man.
giants.
It's all in the Bible. It's all in the Bible. There's no problem there.
No big
And we're just
deal.
excited that
Not
people are
shocked.
giving us real accounts of them seeing giants. And that's what we want to
Yes.
hear, man.
Not
You know,
shocked. No big deal to him. No big
yeah.
deal to him. These countries, I believe, that have giants in them
Uh huh.
aren't just they're not talked about. They're not
Yeah.
it's a thing they just don't talk about. It's
Well,
even though some of these countries or islands fear for their life over some of these giants.
yeah.
That's what I'm finding out.
Well, I found giants everywhere in the world, really, and I've actually found them in America a lot. And that might surprise people, but it's a thing that it's a widespread thing that maybe a lot of people don't know about. It's kind of like Bigfoot. There used to be a time when no one knew about Bigfoot, but wow, you could go out west and see Bigfoot. You can go to East Tennessee, and I promise you, there are Bigfoot sightings. So the
And
point is, it's not a local thing; it's a very widespread thing, and it's the same with the giants. You think, oh, well, they all live in Wisconsin. Well, no, they it could be across the world
they're
and didn't
kept secret.
understand that they
It's
have
a secret.
underground tunnels. There is something to learn. The giants are famous for building tunnels.
They're kept secret. It's it's something that's not talked about, and I believe that
Yeah,
they don't want to. us to know because they don't want people to freak out, get
Yeah.
scared, call 911,
Yeah.
say there's a giant in my backyard when they can't say there ain't because there's giants known of.
Yeah.
It's a a crashing religion. They don't want it to do that. And it in these islands
Yeah.
and in these other places, it's not crashing their religion.
Yeah.
It's maybe it's a start. Maybe they're starting there and moving it our way. I don't know, but
Yeah.
that man is a preacher and he's Christian. I checked him
Yeah.
out. He really was who he
And
said he
he's just
was.
giving you the straight deal
And so
about it.
why would a
That's awesome.
preacher tell me there's giants
Right.
there living where he lives and that he sees them on a daily basis? Why would a
Probably
preacher
because he does.
his
Yeah.
whole life he's been gave his life to God. Why would he tell
Yeah.
me that?
Well, that's why he's contacting you for sure. You know, that's why he's a fan. That's
And
why you're talking to
I
him.
appreciate him telling me
Yeah.
and I really do
Absolutely.
because I want to know for myself what's going on because I've always wanted to know. I've
Yeah.
always wanted to know who's my God? Where'd we come from? And I'm sure a lot of people out there feel that way.
Well, that just goes to show you that a lot of people are just completely on the level and they're excited that someone's finally coming out on the subject. And let me just put a point, a little pin in the little board here, um, because maybe everybody in the world don't know this, but giant research and talking about giants, and especially talking about seeing live giants, this is not an extremely popular subject among many. And a lot of people end up, you don't hear from them anymore. And they say, oh, I saw this live giant. And what happened to that guy that seen those? And the point is, here's what it is, you don't want to go telling exact locations of where you saw something uh, because people get very sensitive about that. And we're smart enough to know that. So we've talked to a lot of different people before we started stepping into this little arena to make sure that we're doing it correctly. And so we have no
A
interest
lot of
in,
people want to see the pictures, Joe. I mean, they'll
yeah,
ask me, they'll message me, can I see the pictures? Ethan,
yeah,
then show the pictures. It's not easy. You can't just do something like
yeah,
that. For
yeah,
one thing, and I'm sure Joe is going to get to that because I feel that's what you were about to say, is that the topic of giants, a lot of people that even say they seen a giant end up missing. And if you
yeah,
do the research, you can see it on YouTube even that there's only quite a few, a little handful, and they're gone.
yeah.
They're missing.
And there's some
And
very respected researchers, but people who
I don't
claim to
want to be
see
missing.
live giants,
I don't want to be missing.
that seems to be a different category. Maybe we'll
We
put
did
it
the
that
right
way.
thing. We took and we made 12 different SD chips and passed them out to certain people I know that I've known forever. And I won't, they'll never know. I'll never say a name. I don't care if they try to kill me for the name. I'm not
Yeah,
going to say.
it's not important.
It's
Yeah,
not going to happen. They can kill
it's
me,
a
but if you
it's a
kill me, it's
smart
going to get
idea
out
to
still.
back up your information, though, and
Yes.
that is a fantastic idea to me.
And those chips, some of those chips were buried, some of those chips were put in bank safes. Those chips were secured to cover my ass because if something happens to me, then that shit will still get out then.
Right, right. Well,
And
and
I'm
it
not letting certain things out. And I know a lot of things that are going on that island that whoa, and Joe does too. And we're not talking about those things, and we're not letting those things out. And
yeah,
those are a real scary thing. And it's not a giant; it's what could possibly be going on over there.
yeah.
And we're not
And
going
we're
to
not,
dispute
we're
that
just
to
we're
Salem's
trying to
Island.
go and make some live giant sightings. And if we can see a giant and see that live, and
Not trying to say
uh,
anything bad about Salem's Island at all to the
absolutely
government,
not.
anything
Uh,
like that.
we're not here
I've
for
seen
that.
giants there. I experienced it. It's amazing. shocking. I wish I never would have in a way because I can't get over it. And I'm sure for
Yeah.
the rest of
It's a
my
thing you
entire
can't
life
put
it's
it
gonna get
down.
me.
Yeah.
So I wish I didn't, but I did. And now that I did, I am like okay with it. I'm okay with
Yeah.
it. I'm not freaked out. I'm not
Right.
oh my God, this, that, or oh, this is outside my house. I'm okay with it, man.
You just
I'm
come to
okay.
grips with the
I'm a
reality of it, and
spiritual
it
guy
takes a
and I'm
minute,
okay
man.
with it. I'm okay with it. And
It's a high hurdle to get
I
over,
looked
you
at a
know.
lot of pictures for a lot of days and I had hard time sleeping. I still do.
Yeah.
I'm a peaceful person. I'm at peace with it now. But when I was looking at it, it was freaking me out and I didn't know how
Undoubtedly.
to
Yeah.
handle it. And I showed several people just to see what they
Yeah.
see and let them see and know I was
Well,
seeing
I mean,
whatever. And I feel better. I feel better with myself now and I feel at peace with myself and I can handle what I'm seeing
yeah.
even though it is worse than some of these pictures are worse than old time voodoo looking movie. I
Yeah.
mean, just fucking mind blowing. Several creatures in one picture.
Hmm.
Um, just just wild, and
And what you'll find is
I'm
if
okay with it now, though. I'm okay.
I'll
I
bet,
mean,
I'll
I'm
bet
okay.
this about it though. I'll bet that it feels good to you to tell the story again because it's a kind of a therapy of
Yeah,
working through it.
like I said, I
You know,
started
it's
a
a hard
Facebook
thing to
for this.
process, you
I
know.
started a Facebook for this, and I have
Yeah.
a lot. Some of them look like Solomon Island government people. I mean, like I said,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say anything about them. I know things, but I'm not
No, we're
saying
not.
nothing. And
We
not
think
only
it's a
I know,
beautiful
Joe
island.
knows. We spread it out, man. So it's not.
Absolutely, man. We think
It,
it's a beautiful island, and we intend to do nothing but come there and treat them with love and respect. And we have, there's no other agenda other than that. We're going to come there and take some beautiful pictures and see that beautiful island and tell the story of that beautiful island, man.
I
And that's
kind of
it, you know?
appreciate it though now, Joe, because now I sit back and think to myself. And when I was younger, I couldn't understand, what my my family was Catholic, and I couldn't get it
Yeah,
because these other countries, how come what Jesus is white or looking or
yeah,
maybe Arabic looking? How come he's not black?
yeah,
How come he's not? Yeah, I don't like all that. So therefore, now that I became spiritual from knowing a native man and having things happen, and I've seen some spiritual shit happen, so that's how I became that way. Otherwise, I would
yeah,
not have did it. And now that I've seen what I've seen, and it's been little while now, I'm okay with it, and I'm at peace with it. And I mean, some of these giant creatures probably eat you in a minute, and all
yeah,
that, and the people fear there. But like I said, I'm a peaceful person with animals, and I'm very peaceful with any animals, bugs, anything like that. I just don't
yeah.
smash a bug. I'll move the bug. I'm
Yeah,
a
me
very
too. I
peaceful
do the same
person.
thing.
I don't want it
I
coming back
carry
at
them
me.
and let them out my door.
Who's
Yeah,
to know that I might not
yeah.
be
My little
reincarnated as
beardle.
that June bug gets smashed? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Or a
yeah,
deer I shot.
yeah,
I don't want no. Life's about conscience. They say I
yeah,
build my conscience up. I don't want something on my conscience,
yeah,
and and something bugging me because we all have things we've done in our life that we still think about, and that's tears your conscience up. So I don't want none of that. And I'm kind of happy because I have these different tribal people contacting me and
yeah.
telling me it's okay and giving me hearts and you know
Yeah.
supporting me and telling
Exactly,
me
man. It's
yeah,
hard.
so
It's a hard subject.
it's making me feel like they know more than me and of course they do and it's making me feel kind of better, kind of
Yeah,
okay, they see it every day where I'm just seeing it and it's blown my mind and I don't know how to
Yeah,
handle it. And they're like, oh,
like they've
bless
been
your
living with
heart,
that truth
it's
for a while.
okay.
Yeah,
And I mean, they're supporting me. It's
yeah.
wild. You can go on my
Well, it's a
Facebook and
wonderful
look.
thing to feel supported and to not be made fun of when you're telling a real story that was traumatic
Yes.
to you and everyone who was there. I mean, as I remember you telling the story, the guy who was driving the truck was like, "Get in the truck now, we're
Oh
leaving,"
yeah.
and it was like he was not joking, like, "Oh, this is all cool, we'll do it whenever."
And
He
soon as
meant,
he said
"We're
that,
leaving now,"
soon as he's starting to say that, you hear, wow. It sounds like,
Yeah,
like somebody, not a chainsaw running, but like somebody cut a tree down, a big ass tree, and they're
yeah,
going, woo woo, I had
yeah.
like that. I'm like, what? And I was just like, let's go.
The sound of a giant tree snapping in half and hitting the
I
ground is
say that to
enough
my
to make
friend, and my
time
friend
to
is still
go. Yeah.
snapping video pictures or
Oh,
whatever.
heck
I'm
yeah,
like, oh
time to
my
go.
God, man. So fucking, I'm like, wow, you
But
know.
again, man, that's a moment burned in your mind, and it's just, we're going to go back and just see what we can see there. That's all we can do is to go try. But I think it's time to go try,
Yeah, when
and
the
I
time
don't
is right, when, we'll release pictures and videos, but
absolutely,
we're not trying to harm anybody, and we're not trying to bring harm to the island or anything like that. These uh giant creatures and giant
yeah.
humanoids, and they got feelings, man. You can look in these pictures
And
that
we
she
should
took,
say
and
though that on the
you can see a picture tells 1,000 words, man. And you can go
absolutely
back when I was younger, that's what they used to say, and they're right about that. And you can look at these pictures and you can tell there's feelings
right.
going on.
Well, I
So
think
these
it's important
beings have feelings. They have,
I think it's
some of them
important
have
to remind
weapons.
people, though, that we're finding that while we can't show the original pictures yet that you captured on your trip with the zoom lens, we can show the pictures that we're finding from Google Earth, and they appear to show big giants, lots of them.
And
And
I, I
we are showing those on our website,
and
so
yeah,
people
and I
can go
am
check
thinking,
that out.
I am thinking to myself, they're probably right now, they're like, Joe, what the hell? You got to see. Why can't we see?
Right.
It's, I met Joe, and we talked a lot, and Joe's been researching for a lot of years, and he's seen a lot of different giants in different places, you guys.
Yeah.
And, if you reach out to Joe and ask him, he'll send you a picture from somewhere else that
Sure.
he's found giants, and
I mean, if
you'll see
you're
the
a real
giant.
researcher and you
And so me and Joe became friends, and we partnered up, and he's returning. Oh, hold on, Joe.
researcher, I don't have time
Are you still there,
to.
Joe?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we went out for a minute, everybody. I wonder if it's still recording. Hold on. I gotta make
Did we
sure.
drop the football? Have we
Oh, we're
fumbled?
still recording. We're just gonna leave it.
Okay.
It skipped out. So me and Joe ended up hooking up, and he's going back on
Yeah.
with the research team. We formed a research team of scientists and stuff, and we and some very important people that everybody's going to be amazed on when it comes out. And we are going to go
Yeah.
back there and see if we can actually get more pictures and more videos and interview and ask questions that I
Absolutely.
didn't get to ask. And there's a lot of questions,
Yeah.
and we're going to document all that.
I think it's amazing that the chief speaks very good English. Can you imagine, like, he lives in a place where English is not the first language, but he spoke very good English and seemed to be a very intelligent person. And I think that's really going to be gold to get some time with the chief and get to ask him and hear in his own words, like
Yes.
let him describe how the giants roll over there and how it works because there's clearly some things like the chief said, we don't go use the bathroom in the woods. We don't do that. And one of the girls was going to do that, and he's like, "Hey, you go in there to use the bathroom?" The chief said, "We don't do that.
The
You go
the
over here."
the giants there they
Yeah,
call hairy giants. Those are what we call
yeah,
Bigfoot. And
yeah,
the chief also talks about that hairy giant disappearing and that
yeah,
it does look ape-like. And so that's what people are seeing. That is Bigfoot. That is
yeah,
Bigfoot. How much evidence do people need? That's coming from the chief of that island that lives on an island with no television, no radio, no internet. He
yeah.
doesn't have that. This is what he's been there his whole life. This is what they call him, hairy giant, and
Wow.
we call them Bigfoot. So
No
the
Bigfoot reference
Bigfoot
from him.
there on that island are mean. They are
Yeah,
very mean. They attack the villages. They eat people. They collect the skulls. It's it's
yeah.
it's wild. So, if you find I'm starting to think to myself now, these people in the United States, if you start to look around and you say you see a Bigfoot in your yard or you spotted a Bigfoot and I'm gonna go scope that area out or hike that area. Be careful. And
Yeah, man.
and look for bones
Yeah,
because on Salem's Island they collect these bones and they put them around where the Bigfoot sleep, where they're resting at. You can see several of the Bigfoot laying around and there's skulls around. And
wow,
that's in some of these pictures that my friend has taken.
wow. That's amazing. But how are you ever going
And
to find this stuff out until you
with the
get into this,
picture,
get a shot like that?
and with the picture, and then the chief saying what he says, and you put two and two together,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like smack. He's not bullshitting. He's right there
Well, it
telling the
starts
truth.
painting the picture. Yeah, it's
He's telling the
amazing.
truth.
I'll tell you, there's going to
These
be a
giants
lot to
have
find out.
weapons. These giants have tribes. Who told me that? The chief. And what did
Yeah.
I think? Oh, this guy is too much, man. What's he trying to do? Scare us out of his village? Is this something that people pay for and he's trying to do to me ahead
Well,
of time? I don't know. It just freaked me out. I was just like, man, okay, whatever, man. Just let him keep going with the bullshit. Why not? I'm having a good time there. I don't care.
yeah.
He wanted to tell me, and I kept asking him more about it, you
One of the
know?
things, well, I want to share with people one of the things I found. I'm looking, one day at Solomon's Island, and that's one of the things I do every day. I get up and I go on Google Earth and I take a look at that island and I say, man. And here's what I do: I just look at it critically, and I just go, is there anything that stands out here? Is there anything interesting from the air that I want to look at? So I was focusing on this beach area, and I started seeing these figures out on the beach, and I could see a tree line there, of course, and I saw these figures standing in this tree line, and they appeared to have weapons. And so, if I could describe them, they appeared to be native people. They were dark skinned people, and they had white body paint on, which I thought was interesting because I had heard Ethan talk about the natives covering their body with white body paint. But these natives were giants. They were big. They had to be 20 feet, 30 feet.
And that's
Now,
that's That's another thing, Joe, is I would like to ask the chief more questions about that paint.
yeah,
More about the white paint, more about
what makes it up?
the
It's very
women
interesting.
painting themselves to go in the jungle. Is that why does it keep the giants away? Why? Because
Yeah,
it
yeah.
represents the
What's behind
skull,
that?
or it represents
I
you
don't know
dead,
if they do
or
it.
I don't get it.
I got
But it
the
does
I got the
something. It does
impression
something.
I got the impression that they were using it actually as some kind of a camouflage to help blend in or something or break their
In
shape
the
up because
jungle, and you paint yourself white, you stand out like light bright. You're like,
well,
bam, and it
but if
looks
you had
freaky.
it broke up,
It
you
looks
know,
freaky when you look at somebody painted solid white. it looks kind of freaky. Like, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa,
Oh,
is
I
that a
agree.
ghost?
I agree.
Whoa.
Well, now these weren't painted
So
solid white, but I could tell they had this paint on. But what was most interesting was there
another
were several of them of different sizes, but they're battling something on the beach.
another thing I
So then
found
I
out,
get,
Joe, during searching documentary shit, I found out that witch doctors will also paint their face white
yeah,
and sometimes their body.
there's something
So
to
I'm
it. You know,
like, okay.
we can
So
learn,
by
man.
painting yourself white, is that like the witch, whatever, if the witch doctor was making
Yeah,
creatures up there, is that they stay away from you because they
it
think
might be
you're,
a way for them that they feel that
oh
connects them
man,
to the spiritual world. You know, when I put the white paint
I'd
on
really
my
love to
spirit
question the
world,
chief more about that. I
very
would
much this
really
kind of
love it.
thing. But the point is, this thing. I say these giant creatures, and they're fighting this thing that is an enormous monster. A monster. This thing has a humanoid insect like body that comes up into a head that is humanoid, but it looks alien. It was would be the best way to describe it. It was not human head. It was an elongated, weird looking alien head thing. Huge. This thing is huge. And the weirdest thing is it has hundreds, maybe not hundreds, but an enormous amount of legs coming out of it, like it's a giant spider type creature with a humanoid body with an alien head. Now, as crazy as that sounds, this thing's on the beach, apparently not caring at all that these other giants are wanting to fight it with weapons. And so this is one of the pictures I caught. And so then, and so I put that out there. But, and when you stop and think about that, man, it's like, when you hear what Ethan was saying, that the chief said there's a witch doctor and he's making creatures, monsters at the top of the mountain. Then you see this creature that defy. I've never seen anything. You know,
It
I've seen
makes you
a bunch of
believe
weird
them, but
stuff.
then there's got to be a reason behind this.
One of the
And
weirdest things I've
and
ever seen,
yeah,
for
there's got
sure.
to be a reason
Yeah,
behind it. And
yeah,
so either I've have several pictures my friend has, which have, out of the 265 pictures, there's some pictures that have Bigfoot with a gray alien
yeah,
and
yeah.
standing there together like they're friends.
And
Almost
the
like the
alien guy's
Bigfoot
probably a
respects that.
giant, is he not? Is the
Like the
alien
Bigfoot
giant?
respects the alien, and the Bigfoot is a
Yeah.
much bigger than the gray alien. And the gray
Oh, it is.
alien is similar to the gray alien they show. It's
Yeah.
and I've after I've got home, I've even found pictures of that gray alien, very clear and can be. You can see the eyes and
Yeah,
measured it. It's 14 foot.
I found one today on
And
Solomon's
so
Island. I
it's,
found them a
are they
lot.
working with the gray aliens? Are the
Yeah,
gray aliens landing up there every 3 days and
right?
doing something, or bringing
Yeah.
someone they abduct there and making a new creature? Oh, here's a cow. Let's make a cow human. Here's a horse. Let's make a
Well,
horse-headed
yeah.
human giant. Somebody's doing something. And if
The
that's what
incredible
it is,
diversity, the incredible diversity of Team Nephilim. You know what I'm saying?
that
Everything
is
from
going
giant
on, man.
people.
And
I
there's
mean,
proof.
the weirdest thing is we do find giant humanoid people who look exactly like normal everyday people, wearing normal everyday clothes, wearing sunglasses, but they're 60 feet tall. And it's like chilling. And
In
I
some
found
of
one
these
today.
pictures, Joe, there's a skull that is, it's got to be a 20-foot skull. Just by looking, it's got to be. There's a there's
Yeah.
gray aliens, three of them or four of them standing in front of it, staring at it, and it's a big giant head, and you can see the nose, the eyes, everything clear as can be. These are pictures, and
Yeah.
of this girl zooming in, and then you can go like this, on the digital part and zoom in more, and it's like, oh my god, it's a cut off head laying on the ground, and these aliens are just staring at it.
Yeah.
And there's Bigfoot giants standing around as well.
Well,
And there's
you
other
know,
creatures fighting in the background. It's like, whoa,
well,
it's bizarre.
here's a
And that's what
weird
lines up, and that's why I think these people are thinking it's a witch doctor, Joe, is
yeah,
because the fact that the creatures that they're seeing, you can't tell anybody about it, because if you do, they're going to go, what the fuck are you talking about?
right,
Yeah,
right,
there's a giant looking, dog-headed, walking on 2 feet, human looking giant, dog looking creature or horse looking creature, or
right.
how can you tell that to somebody?
With an awesome hatchet, and he's wreaking havoc. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he's carrying weapons. How can you tell
It's
that with somebody? Okay,
yeah,
well, the dog creature carrying weapons, obviously he's got a brain like ours. He got a weapon in
right.
his hand. What the
Well,
fuck?
then again,
Mind
it's
blowing.
like all those things are off the table. And today I was finding some weird giants. I found these weird potato head giants that had this big fat heads. There they were, dude. It's just like there's I don't know, man, the incredible diversity that these things can come out. We've seen things that look straight up cartoony,
Oh
like
yeah.
what in the hell is this
A
thing,
creature
And
off a
it's like
cartoon movie. I mean, just some wild
it's
shit.
all
And
bets are
that's why I
off.
believe the chief thinks it's the witch doctor, because he
Yeah.
can't believe what's doing it. So it's got to be the gray aliens, or it's got to be some kind of King Solomon with that can
Well, I think
supernatural
it's just that,
powers. I mean, where are
the
we going with
diversity of
this? It's not a human
again the
making DNA.
uh,
Because I mean, come on now, what do we got? Some humanoid or human person that went up there that knows how to clone DNA and started doing that? We would have busted that mother scratcher. I think
you
we would
see
have
that's the
nailed him and got him
trouble.
out of there. What are you doing? We
The whole
can't.
trouble with this subject is you can't put it in a box.
No,
You can't just take the giant subject and the Nephilim subject and these creatures
no,
and
you
just stick
cannot.
it in a little
No,
box and go, oh well, that's this. Listen, man, you have no idea what
you.
creatures can exist, how big they can be,
There's
and
more. Hmm.
uh, I have people tell me about the of some cheese ball. I won't say who it. I don't know who it is, but somebody on the internet tell me about some kind of square cube law, and giants can't exist according to the square cube law. I said, gosh, all the ones I see don't seem to give a damn about that. You know what I
That's
mean?
probably because
I
you
see big
you have
60,
to be
100 foot
open-minded. And
giants,
we were
and
all
they don't
lied
care
to
about the
about
cube
everything.
laws. I don't
We are
know what
all
to tell
lied
you,
to.
brother, but
That's what I know.
to
I
put
know I'm
that in
lied
your
to.
smoker.
I'm lied to all
Yeah,
the time. I'm lied to about history. I'm lied to. They don't tell you the truth. They don't want you to
yeah,
know.
yeah.
For some reason, they don't
It's a
want you
hard
to know.
subject. It's
They
a
don't
hard
want
subject.
you to know who God is. They don't want you to know, man. They'll let
Yeah.
you believe in something, but they're not going to tell you the truth. And it's
Well,
pretty funny that a lot of you dig deep into that religion stuff, and you'll find stuff like,
well, it's
the
pretty
Pope
funny
had
that they take the Book of
alien
Enoch out of the
skulls down in the
Bible.
basement.
You know that that shouldn't be lost on people that the Book of Enoch. And let me just say this about that: the Book of Enoch, the biggest, best story of the giants ever in history. If you ever wanted to know the story behind the giants, who they are, where they come from, it's in the Book of Enoch. Guess where it comes from? It was in the Bible. Guess what? Someone took it out. Enoch, the only person ever, two people, one of two people who's been raptured. In other words, Enoch never died. He just went to heaven. God took him to heaven. He was so loved. Everyone loved Enoch. He was beloved. Why would you take his book out of the Bible? Why? Why? I'll tell you why.
Tells the truth.
Because it tells the whole story of Genesis chapter 6. And that was giants were in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were fair and came and took wives of whom they chose.
They're still
And
here,
the same
and
became mighty men, giants of old. So this is where the giants came from. And the book of Enoch tells that whole story of who were their fathers, these fallen angels, the watchers, 200 who came to Mount Hermon. Why did they mate with these women? And that was not allowed from with God. It is not. And why did their children become giants? Why, how did that happen? How
So
could God let that happen? Well, because the angels have free will, just like you and I, and they disobeyed and they did a thing that was against God, and then their children became giants. Now, what many people don't know is that when the flood came, that was a judgment against these fallen angels. And many people don't know this, but God actually made the fallen angels watch their own children, who were the giants, battle each other in this battle called the Gigantomachy. There's another one called the Titanomachy, but they call it the Gigantomachy. In other words, as a punishment to these fallen angels, and God made these fallen angels watch their children battle to the death. And as they battled to the death, the crescendo, the flood came. And that's why you find giants all buried at the tops of mountains, because they were killed in the flood. And of course, when you do a little math there, well, why didn't predators eat them? There were no predators after the flood. You know what I'm saying? There's no land. So these giants literally laid on the top of the mountains, hardened, turned it to stone. And that's literally what mountains are made of. Many of them are giant humans, giant humanoids, giants 2 miles long. The book of Enoch says that giants were 2,000 ells. That's 2 miles tall. That's why you see mountains that look like a man, old man in the mountain. That's what it is.
so you can do the research and you can check. And back in the day, they were bombing all these islands, Bikini Hotel. They were bombing islands. What for? To test your
Yeah,
bomb out on an island, a beautiful island? Why would you destroy an
yeah.
island? And a lot of these islands had tribal people living on them. And these islands they were bombing, I believe, was a big cover up. They were bombing islands with giants and aliens on them. They were trying to
Nothing,
get rid of
nothing
that
about that
shit.
would surprise me.
Yeah, when they got to Salem's Island, the treaty was up. I did the research and it says that. They were going to
Well,
bomb
here,
Salem's Island. Yes, they were. And the treaty was up. They could not do it.
I just want you to think about the treasure of Tutankhamun for a minute that was found by Howard Carter. Howard Carter was simply a guy like me, or well, he wasn't like me, but he was just an explorer, a researcher explorer, and he learned to spot where these tombs were. And people go, well, how did he find them out? He just simply learned what they looked like. He learned that they came in these crevices, and when the rock had a big crevice down at the bottom, you could find a tomb. And so when he learned that, he learned how to recognize where to find treasure. Now, here's a real newsflash for some people. Giants are well known to love gold, they're well known to have treasure. Solomon's Island itself is well known to be a gold hotspot.
And if
We're
you
not
do the
here to talk about
research
that,
on
but
King
that is a fact.
Solomon, if you do the research on King Solomon, Joe, it says that he was he was very wise, and
Yes,
everybody would take him
absolutely.
their money.
Well, and they also said that that island was the source of his gold. I've heard that story before, and King Solomon was widely known as the richest king ever. So the point is, I've personally found a lot of big buildings there. I've just posted an incredible pyramid, and people can debate me on that, and I'll let you,
Oh,
but
I
I'm going to
see.
tell you, if you want to debate me about pyramids, I've probably found more than you, and I'll tell you that up front. So the point is, the thing I found is an early form of a pyramid, and it's full of relief carvings, really early stuff like you find before the flood. And these things, they're pyramid shaped, but they literally have heads and body parts and things that make them up. And it's like something you don't see in Egypt. What it is, it has nothing to do with Egypt. It's before Egypt. And so, oh my goodness, I'm running out of power. Hold on.
The show is up, guys. So if we get
We're
disconnected,
running out
everybody
of
don't
power, sir.
we'll do another show.
How long have we gone?
You still
I'm at
there,
10.
Joe?
Yes, sir. I'm
Yeah.
here. I'm at
So
10%.
so the chief and these tribal people all through the island, he says, believe there's witch doctors up there creating these beings. So there's got to
Yep.
be an explanation behind this.
Yeah.
And
Or he could be just completely
yeah,
correct.
because if
And
there
that's
was,
what people,
you
don't
got to
take that
put your
off the
common
table.
sense out there, Joe, and you think to yourself, if witch doctors could create spiritual beings or bring the
Absolutely.
dead back alive or anything like that, don't you think that would be happening in a lot of places and it would already been busted, you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I
I
can,
don't, maybe they don't want to talk about it, but you think a lot of people would be making creatures in a lot of places then.
well, here's a weird fun fact for
I
you.
believe,
That's a,
I'm believing it's either King Solomon is still alive and the chief says some of these giants live 900 and plus years.
yeah.
So maybe he's still alive and maybe he has special powers. And they talk about him in the Bible like he's a god. And the chief said he was a giant. And so if he has special powers, maybe he's creating them. Maybe the gray aliens are creating him.
I need to
Something's going on.
research a little more, but I have
They
a
can't bomb
memory
the
of,
island. There's
I have
too
this
many of them,
memory.
Joe. There's too many of them. Joe knows this as well because when I met Joe, the first thing I said to Joe was, "Hey, Joe, check out Salem Island. Let me know if you see anything." And it must have been 10 minutes, 20 minutes later, Joe hit me back saying, "Oh, man."
Yeah.
And then I knew I need
Yeah.
to talk to Joe.
You got a Yahtzee here, pal. Yeah, and again, if I look for 15 minutes and can start finding stuff, and people go, oh, well, you got pareidolia. Listen,
No.
I will tell you now, do not bring that word up on our page, or I personally will boot you with a giant boot off it. No, there's no pareidolia. No one's seeing faces. When you can measure and see the face and it's a person,
It's easy for
it,
me, Joe, because I've seen them with my own eyes.
yeah,
So
right.
when I
Well,
got
this is just a
home
basic thing for
and thought to
skeptics to
myself,
say.
yeah, I thought to myself, you know what, man, I got pictures of this stuff and shit. Let me see if I can see it on Google Earth where the chief said that the giants are.
Exactly.
And
First
so I
thing I
went
would have done.
right to that spot on Google Earth and thought to myself, okay, if there's a 60-footer or whatever, like the chief said, 30 feet up, well, I'm going to see it because you can see houses, right? So
Yeah,
I thought
yeah,
I'm going to see it. So I went down, started looking, and no kidding, man, I'm seeing giant beings, the same looking ones. They're dark
yeah,
looking on there,
yeah,
to where on the pictures they're more colorful and you can see them better.
yeah,
But it's the same creature. It's
yeah,
the same exact. Some of these creatures are the same creatures on the picture. So I'm
yeah,
like, okay, so I know what to look for when I'm
yeah,
going down there and on Google Earth. And then, I used to be an artist, real good artist drawing, and I did some real beautiful native work, and done native tribal signs for tribals. And, I'm really good. I used to be a chainsaw carver and I used to do natives and stuff, Indians and stuff, and bears, and just bad kick-ass mermaids and just wild
yeah.
stuff. So and when I learned that, the guy that I learned from told me, "Can you see the eagle in that log?" And I said, "No." And he said, "It's in there. You just got to pull it out." And I'm like, and that took me about 3 years after that to actually be able to do
Right.
shit.
In
It
other words,
wasn't,
to see
you know what I
the
mean?
image and
And
subtract what doesn't
yeah,
need to
so
be
I
there.
look for detail. I look for to
Yeah,
see that's a face. That's not a fucking tree, or that's
yeah,
you know what I mean? That's a body. That's somebody holding a giant. And
yeah.
some of our pictures are mind blowing off Google, and I've
Well,
had people go, "Wow, how did you get that
I
picture,
found a
man? Were you
picture
standing
today of
nearby
a,
it?" No, that's a Google picture right now.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And they'll be like, some of the Bigfoot groups will even say, the admins will even say, "I see it, and he's holding the
yeah.
smaller giant. They see it. I'm
I've
not
had
claiming."
people ask me over and over, where did I get the picture? And I'll say Google Earth. And I go, did you take it from a helicopter? No, I got it from Google Earth. So you took
Yeah.
it from a helicopter?
Hmm.
No, I did it from Google Earth.
And the thing with
Well, it's
this,
not very clear. Well, that's Google Earth's fault.
and the thing with this
I
that Joe
wish it
was
was
saying
clearer.
is that these are
Yeah,
giants. These are giants in Bigfoots
yeah,
and animals. And animals are not just like an animal. Animal's not gonna stay in one place. He's gonna
yeah,
travel. A giant, especially if he's got, a giant humanoid, he's going to
yeah.
travel. A Bigfoot, he's going to travel. He's not going to stay in the
Well, what I
same spot.
noticed is,
So they can't block it all off. And every
yeah,
year on Google, I guarantee it, and they probably hate me right now, they have to go in there and try to blur these giants out all over the island.
absolutely, and that's a
And
real
they're
important point to make.
everywhere. You can see them fucking
Know that there
everywhere.
are scrubbers. There are scrubbers, and there are people. And you'll see this. You'll see all different kinds of. There are lots of ways to
They
keep
just
you
have to
from seeing
block out
what
the
they
whole
don't want
island,
you to see.
square it all off. You
One
know
of
what I
them I've
mean?
seen is the cloud. There, all of a sudden, they'll show you some clouds in the shot, white,
Hmm. Hmm.
and there's no cloud anywhere else in the
Or they'll
picture.
stamp 2025 right across that giant's belly, man. Boom.
Exactly. This is another phrase, but they'll put a
Hmm.
big cloud. Another thing they'll do is just blur the damn picture out, the whole thing. You'll just zoom in and it's just blurry,
Hmm.
and it'll be for hundreds of miles, and then you'll go maybe over
Go
here.
on a
They'll finally
trip.
let you start seeing,
That's what
and
it
it's
is, a
like
little trick.
there are all kinds of. Another favorite thing to do is the black. They'll
Hmm.
color. You'll see a giant standing there, and you'll see it's colored black,
Oh, and
or
I
the
find I find them I find them not messed with, and you do too, Joe. You've showed
yeah.
me as well,
But now
and
that
they're
it's
not getting them
work.
all. They're not getting them because they're
They
moving.
can't get them all.
No,
That's
and
why
next
they
year they'll
would if
move
they
to another
could.
spot when they take the picture. So they
You
can't.
know they would if they could, man. They hate when you find a clear picture. Like
Hmm.
what I found today, I'm looking right through there, and man, just out of nowhere, it's this big giant flesh colored face.
And like I say, picture tells a
It's
thousand
man,
words. So you can go on Google Earth and you can zoom down and you start to see this stuff, and you'll
yeah,
start to put two and two what's going on down there together.
yeah.
And
Well, you can find it too.
and then especially if you find shit like me and Joe,
Yeah,
you'll know what's going on.
exactly, man. It's findable, and it's not. We're not special. And again, I'm telling you, if I can find it in 10 minutes, you can. If you just know what you're looking for, if you know what a person looks like, or a
Yeah.
being, or a humanoid figure.
And if anybody
Uh,
asks me on the group room or Facebook
yeah,
group room or YouTube, I'll fucking tell them straight up how to do it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I'll try to guide you through it the
yeah.
best I can. I'll
Well,
circle the
we got to
giant,
do.
whatever I can to
That's
help
something we're
you.
gonna we're gonna work on that coming up soon. I've got a new screen, and we're working on getting some new ways to get you guys some really good videos where we can show how to find these things, what to look for, and we can get you started on it because I know people are interested. That's the first what I get from like a lot of Bigfoot researchers too. They'll ask me over and over, "How'd you get the shot? How'd you get the shot?" And then it finally dawns on me they're trying to go look themselves, and that's fine, man.
Mm.
Go look, and you're going to get your mind blown, man. You're going to see we're not joking. We're not telling a story. So what we had was he had this sighting. They took real pictures, zoom pictures from a live sighting. Then Ethan goes back and says, "Well, man, these pictures are incredible. And if I can see them on this zoom picture where we were there, I should be able to see them from satellite." He starts looking, finds them. That's where I ran into him. I saw his sign, and I'm like, "Man, you've got some big giants on here, dude." We got to talking, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I'm finding these a bunch." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I do." So one thing led to another, and we ended up working together, and we're finding all kinds of awesome giants. And we're doing work, and we're just putting it out and letting people see for themselves. And we're not coloring it. We're not trying to say, "Oh man, you know, we want you to do this or that." We just want to tell the truth about it. Now, we would love for you to join and check our shots out because it helps us. And of course, we've got YouTube.
I was
What all
scared,
you
Joe.
need to
I was
know
scared
about
to
that?
talk about it. I was scared to say anything. I had to think
Yeah,
for a while, man. It took me a few
yeah,
weeks,
man.
man. I had to think and think and think about shit and talk to quite a couple people and think about what I'm doing here, man, because it's like,
Yeah.
and now that I've gained, like I said, these Facebook followers that are from Kenya and stuff like that are telling me that it's a daily thing, man. I have
Yeah.
other people that are telling me,
And
yeah,
a lot of
man, and
people from the Solomons
yeah,
too,
and
man.
it feels good, and it's like I'm not fucking crazy, even though
Yeah.
my friend's seen it. Her girlfriend didn't go to see the Giants. She stayed back at the village, but my friend seen it and took pictures. It's what's that to me? It's just like me and another person. It's not like, and then when you meet people that are seeing shit, it feels better.
Yeah.
It kind of makes you feel like, okay,
Well, you kind of get
and
community people, and that's why the
yeah,
Bigfoot people
and
like
now
grouping
that
together
yeah,
because
now
they're
that
all
these
all
tribal people are
together. That's
coming
awesome.
forward, and of course I'm going to ask a few if I can interview them, even to ask them questions
Yeah.
for everybody. And now
Yeah.
that they're coming forward, it makes me feel like, okay, it's something that just ain't talked about, that
Yeah.
it's a God thing. It's something to do with God, maybe, or it's just something that they don't talk about because it's
Yeah.
people think they're weird. Or but when you're there, the island people, that's the other thing, is when you're there, the island people, it's like they'll talk about it even though I think they're forbidden to. And like the chief told me that they're kind of forbidden to, that
Yeah.
they still like, they'll mention something just to get you to, your eyes to get big, and then they look at you like,
Yeah.
laugh at you like you're funny, like when you're trying to think they're fucking funny. You know what I mean? And it's not.
Really. Hey,
They're
man,
being
you know what I just
serious.
thought about? I wanted to shout out to my buddy, an old buddy of mine from the internet. And I hope he can. I don't know if how we'll get this to him, but this guy runs a site called Night God 333. And back in the day, man, he's one of the first people who stood by my shots when I was showing some crazy stuff in the mountains. And I ended up showing some real nice pyramids that I found. And he was cool enough to post them. But I'd like to shout out to him, man, and say, Kyle, man, let's get together and let's do an interview and let's talk about this because he did several cool videos about the Solomon Islands, man, and I know he's interested in the Solomon Islands giants. And
Nice.
I think we could bring him an awesome interview, and I think his people would enjoy it. So I thought I might shout out to him and, call me, brother, message me,
Great.
let's get together and we'll do this, because we're starting to do some shows with other people. And I thought I'd reach out to him because he is a guy who is on the cutting edge of keeping stuff, this cutting edge type material, getting it to the people. And he has a huge fan base, and we'd be thrilled to give him an interview.
So to all the we have a new YouTube, everybody, and a lot of people
Yeah,
know
yeah,
that and they're watching. Spread the word, share the YouTube, man. We're
absolutely.
going to be giving away stuff to followers because we're trying to get this YouTube to get big. So we do have a headhunter's shield, and it's an old one. It might be worth about $1,500 or somewhere up in there. That we're giving that away to a random subscriber. We're just going to pick one out of the blues, and if that person doesn't want it, we'll pick the next one until somebody
Yeah.
takes it. And
Cool
it,
prizes, man.
yes, and we're going to give that away at 2,500 subscribers. We
Awesome.
also are going to be giving away a beautiful dream catcher, and it has a sun in it with beads, and it's a dream catcher with beautiful feathers. I'll have to post that picture, and that
Yeah,
will
yeah.
be,
People want to see that.
yes, that will be at 200 followers on YouTube. Um,
Yeah.
and so make sure you've subscribed to the YouTube. Um,
We're excited
yeah,
growing the channel and
and there
telling the
is
truth about the
also,
job.
my friend got a big box of, they call it shell money there,
Yeah.
and the tribal people use that there and buy things with it, and it's
That's
beautiful
amazing.
shells. Yes,
Wow. That'd be
and
awesome to have
so
that.
she has a box full of that. So we are
A
going to
sample
be
of the
giving a
tribal
bunch
money,
of that
which is a
out to,
beautiful will.
Yes, to our YouTube subscribers that if you're
Awesome,
interested
man.
and you're subscribing, as our YouTube's growing, we're going to be giving the little gifts of those out as well. So
And we should
anything to
tell
get
people
the
that
YouTube up and going.
we're planning on bringing supplies and stuff to the villagers, and we're not
Yes.
going to show up just like a
No.
bunch of cheese balls. We're going to
No.
try to show up and be a blessing, man. It's going to be awesome. And that's what I'm saying. It's going to be an awesome time to get to spend with these people and learn about their
Yeah.
culture and learn about the giants from them. Just if we can, if the chief
We're
is
going
all
to
right, we'll
document
talk
it all.
about it.
It's all going to
You
be
know,
documented. Don't forget, subscribe to our YouTube because our YouTube has more
yes,
videos than what we show on Facebook. We'll slip a video here and
yeah,
there on Facebook group, but YouTube's where we post all of our stuff. So make sure
yeah,
you
yeah.
all
Check it
subscribe.
out.
Definitely. It's been real, Joe.
Yes, sir. I've had
Till
an
our next
awesome time. Thanks for
show.
joining us. Thanks for joining us on Solomon Islands Giants team, and we want you guys to stick with us and take this awesome journey.
Thank you for subscribing and thank you for following our group. And thank you all for your wonderful support and your
Yes.
prayers and all that goody good
Thank
stuff.
you. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.